Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Air Gunners. Just did a couple of hours of yard work and it's time to do some pellet testing. Up today is the JSB Hades in 25 caliber. Stay tuned. This pellet test and review is brought to you courtesy of Joe at Predator International and JSB, who gave us a small sample of the Hades 25 caliber pellets so we can let you know what all the fuss is about. This is a pellet review video, but it is a hunting pellet, and there are scenes of humane dispatch of pest animals included in this video. Just like this one right here. You guys know we've got black squirrels in our neighborhood, and these guys, just like their gray cousins, cause problems. Black squirrels are just like gray squirrels, they just have a different pigment. And like this guy, they stand out a little bit more. Let's take a second look at that in slow motion. As you can see, there wasn't much space to thread that pellet in. In this case, I'm shooting the Brocock Bantam Sniper in 25 with, you guessed it, the 25 caliber JSB Hades pellet. A couple more quick notes about our test rifle. It's topped with an MTC Cobra F1 first focal plane scope. All the filming is being done through a GoPro, which has an Eagle Vision custom lens installed. We're also using the Eagle Vision GoPro scope mount. Out front is a Donnie FL Tanto moderator, in addition to the shrouded barrel. The JSB Hades pellet in 25 is based off of the Mark II design. And the pellets that we used for the testing for comparison purposes, shown here from left to right, is the JSB King 25 caliber weighing in at 25 grains, the JSB Hades, which in our sample averaged 26.6 grains, and then the JSB King Heavy Mark II, which is topping out the list at about 33.95 grains. The rifle we're using has been tuned by Ken Hicks of Southern Precision Air Weapons for the 25 grain JSB pellet. Let's get on to the testing. The rifle today is the 25 caliber Brocock Bantam Sniper HR. Give you an idea of where the regulator's set. That gauge is on top. Up front is a Donnie FL Tanto, and we're measuring speed today using the FX Pocket Chronograph on this super awesome tank bottle bracket. Really important to keep your radar unit stable, stationary, and lined up with the path of the pellet if you're going to use it effectively. So for testing, what we're going to do is fire shots from the Brocock up from the balcony there down into the bucket there. So we're at about 10 to 12 feet when it's all said and done. We're going to measure expansion first of the JSB 33 grain pellet, then we're going to take a look at the 25 grain pellet, and finally expansion on the Hades. When we get to the Hades, we're going to measure expansion not just at the top power level, but we're going to notch it down and see what kind of difference we get from expansions at lower feet per second. Chronograph work will be measured by the FX Pocket Chronograph, which is mounted to the tank of the Brocock. So here's an interesting finding from our testing. In checking out the bucket as we were shooting, you see two holes, the top two on your screen. Those actually crack the plastic on the bottom of the bucket, actual penetration, and those are from the heavier JSBs. The lower two marks, one under that center ring and one to the right, those are from the 25 grain JSBs. The Hades pellet dumped all of its energy into the water before hitting the bottom of the bucket. So when you look at our expansion results, I think you have to take into consideration that some of that expansion is due to hitting the hard plastic on the bottom of the bucket, particularly with the 33 grain, and I think you can see that in the measurements. Let's take a look at these pellets. First up is the Mark II, and it's only coming out at 752 feet per second, but that's still over 42 foot-pounds of energy. It expanded out to 0.289 inches, which gives it 15.6% expansion. However, look at the surface of the pellet. It's not rounded, it's flat. What happened here is that pellet went through the water column and then hit the bottom of the bucket with enough energy not only to crack the plastic, but to flatten itself against the pavers that make up our lower patio. I don't think that you'd get this much expansion in the real world, and you certainly don't see the kind of energy dump we're looking for in a hunting pellet. Unlike the flat of the Mark IIs, you can see that the 25 grain Kings, while they hit the bottom of the bucket, didn't go all the way through and didn't impact and then flatten themselves out on the paver below. These did make a dent in the bucket, so they were traveling fast enough after going through about 16 inches of water in order to dent the thick plastic of the bucket. This indicates to me that you're going to see a lot of pass-through if you're using this pellet in a hunting application, and that a lot of the energy that could and should be left behind in the animal is going to pass through, possibly on to other animals, downrange to someplace dangerous, or even in a best case scenario, into the structure of whatever you're hunting in or around. Now we're getting into what you came here to see. This is the Hades pellet, fired at only 645 feet per second. It's still expanding as much as the 844 feet per second 25 caliber exact King. It's not putting out as much energy, only about 25 foot-pounds, but because it's not hitting the bottom of the bucket, more of the energy is being dissipated in the initial part of the water column, meaning more of the energy is going to be transferred to whatever it is you're intending to hit. It's not bad as a low power option. You're getting some expansion, at least equal to the expansion of the much faster yet lighter 25 grain pellet. When we take the Hades up to what for my Bantam is full speed, 822 feet per second, we see expansion out to 0.308 inches. That's over 23% expansion. We're also seeing that more of that energy is being dumped early. These pellets didn't even contact the bottom of the barrel with any energy, not enough to even scratch the surface of the plastic. This is what you want out of a hunting pellet. Big expansion and lots of energy dumped as soon as it hits the target. The tune on my Bantam is fairly moderate. It was tuned more for accuracy than for raw power, and it's going to be interesting to see what we can do by pushing these pellets even faster. I think there is more room for expansion than just 0.308. As you guys know, we do a lot of pest control, and the terminal performance of a pellet is significant when we make a pellet selection. Based on our water tests, we think that the Hades pellet not only expands more than the JSB 33 or 25 grain pellets, but they lose a lot more of their energy in that expansion. And this conclusion is based on the fact that in our test, we had 2 pellets who were still traveling fast enough through about 16 inches of water to impact, and in the case of the heavier pellets, crack the plastic, where the Hades pellet released all that energy in that water column. To make sure this wasn't a fluke, we actually refilled the bucket and did it again. This time we fired one more round with the 33 grain pellet, and it actually embedded itself in the bucket, like permanently welded itself into the bucket. Now I like the Mark II, it's a great pellet, and in a faster gun out to 100 yards, it's really accurate. But based on these tests, for expansion alone, the only one of these pellets I'd recommend is the Hades. But no matter how much a pellet expands, if you can't shoot it accurately, it's not any use to anybody. In fact, it's dangerous and it's wrong to shoot at animals. So let's go see how accurate these pellets are. So we're out at the 50-yard backstop, and we're going to take a look at the groups. This is a 10-shot string using the JSB King 25, 25.39 grain pellets. Shooting the Brocock Bantam Sniper HR 25 caliber. This is test shooting of the JSB Exact King Heavy Mark IIs at 33.95 grains. During these next two segments, you may hear a difference in the noise of the cocking cycle. Both the Hades and the Mark IIs are longer pellets than the Exact Kings. I think the Bantam Sniper was designed with the exact king pellet in mind. Sometimes while I'm cocking the rifle with the longer pellet, it just doesn't feed into the breech smoothly. It seems possible that there are times where the nose of the pellet gets cut up by the breech, and it seems to me that this could affect accuracy, although I haven't taken the time to test it. This is 10 shots with the JSB Hades pellets. Winds on this particular day were between 5 and 7 miles an hour and were broken up by the trees that live in the backyard range. That noise that you just heard is me working the bolt to try to convince the longer pellet to make the leap into the breech. All of the hunting clips included in this video, as well as several others that I've released, were filmed when I was using a single shot loading tray to feed pellets. I used a single shot tray for no other reason than the tin of pellets I got for test and evaluation didn't really have enough pellets in it to start loading up magazines. I was being pretty sparing because I wanted to bring you guys a good test, and I wanted to make sure it included some good footage of actually shooting targets as well as live quarry. Right here is the 25 grain JSB. Here is the Hades. And here is the 33 grain Mark IIs. Now, just looking at these, I have to say that that's probably a better group, but I'll have to get out the calipers and actually measure things. That one's not really anything to write home about, but this gun really isn't tuned up for that heavy of a pellet. And this looks like something sort of in the middle. You guys have had the chance to watch the pellets hit. I think one dipped a little bit off low and right, but a lot of them went through that main hole. And going into the test, well, I knew that these were accurate pellets. So let's get a calipers out and see what we see. Keep in mind, when you're looking at our test results, we don't cherry pick groups to show you, we just shoot them and show them. The second thing is, we take 10-shot groups and we don't make excuses for anything that goes wrong while we're shooting. So here, with the JSB Kings, we've got a 1.1 inch group. Rather than dwell on the size of the group, this is the base. This is the base pellet that this gun was designed for and that this gun has been tuned for. Moving on to the 33 grain pellets, this is not a great group. I think these pellets are both too long and too heavy to be accurately fired at 50 yards from this rifle. This is not a pellet I'd recommend either for target shooting or for pest control, because there are much better options out there. It's a great pellet, it's just not a great pellet for this application. And then there's the Hades. Like their 22 grain cousins, the 25 caliber Hades are close to as accurate as the pellets they're designed after, but not quite as accurate as that pellet. As I've now watched the replay of the scope cam footage several times, I think about 5 or 6 of the pellets went through that main hole, with 4 pellets falling outside of that maybe half-inch group. I don't have enough pellets yet to do the test, but I'd like to compare 10 shots out of the magazine versus 10 shots single loaded. And I also think these pellets will shoot a little more accurately if they're fired with a little more velocity. Based on this test result, as well as the success I've had in the field doing pest control operations with these pellets, I'm prepared to recommend the Hades in 25 just like I do the Hades in 22 caliber. So let's take a look at some hunting footage. No, I'm not going to shoot at a white-tailed deer with a 25 caliber pellet. It's not going to happen. But I did want to show you one of the guys who regularly visits the backyard range. I wish that this guy would have visited my tree stand during deer season, but he didn't. How about this guy though? This guy came by to see Mr. Hades in 25 cal. If you don't want to see me shoot this or any other squirrels, leave now. This shot was taken at about 25 yards. This tightrope walker made an appearance one morning while I was trying to get ready for work. He's at about 20 yards, and I'm dialed for about 25, plus I'm shooting up, so you'll see the pellet impact a little bit low from the crosshairs. The Hades pellet gives a massive energy dump, it's an accurate shot, and this squirrel is dead before she hits the ground. I've shot about a dozen squirrels with the 25 caliber JSB Hades pellet. I've had to take one follow-up shot on a squirrel, and all the rest of the hits have been one shot and straight down kills. Look at the reach on this guy. For a minute I thought he was a flying squirrel, but he isn't. Just a garden variety gray squirrel. A little bit better at hide and seek than some of his cousins, maybe. But then he saw me and he froze right in this spot. I guess he thought he was trying to pretend he was one with the tree. That didn't work. So that's about it. The Hades 25 cal is giving us decent accuracy and amazing terminal performance. Everything you'd want in a pesting pellet. We took the FX Crown, which is giving us velocities closer to 900 feet per second. And we did some additional test firings at that velocity into the bucket. And before we wrap up, I'd like to just thank again Joe at Predator International as well as JSB for trusting us with a sample so that we could get these results out to you guys just as these pellets are hitting the stores. So here's the expansion at 900 feet per second. We measured this at 0.333 inches. Remember, it's the Hades pellet. Thanks to everybody for watching. We hope that you've enjoyed the video, learned something, and that it's maybe helped you to make a decision for yourself. More than anything, I hope these pellets work out as well for you as it looks like they're going to work out for us. Have a good rest of your day. Shoot straight and shoot safe.